Oh, sorry, go back. Look, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to the October monthly webinar for the Roads and Transport Directorate. The subject for today's webinar is a presentation from the Streets Opening Coordination Council in regards to an update from them on their activities, as well as a highlight on their iWORCS platform. And look, just before we commence, please note that this is set up in the town hall configuration, so attendees won't be able to turn on cameras or microphones to ask questions, but we do have the chat and Q&A functions available. So if you have any questions as we're going through, please do just post those in either of those two channels. And I'd note that the session today is being recorded and will be available on our website later this week. So yeah, if any of your colleagues couldn't make it today, please do forward them the link so they can have a look at it. So as I mentioned, the presenters today are from the Streets Opening Coordination Council. I note that the IPWEA and the SOCC have had a strong relationship over many years. I think we were saying it was about 30 years that the two organisations have been associated. And just recently we've renewed or refreshed our MOU and looking to strengthen those partnerships moving forward. So look forward to many collaborations over the years ahead. With regards to our two presenters today, we have Nabil Issa, who's the CEO of the SOCC. Nabil's a professional electrical engineer with over 40 years of experience. And Nabil has represented the power industry on numerous forums, including Standards Australia panels. And Nabil's currently serving as the CEO of SOCC, which I believe he's been in for a couple of years now. And he's certainly had a long association with the SOCC and through SOCC with IPWEA. Now, Stuart McDonald, who's the chair of the SOCC, is the team leader of wastewater and stormwater operations at Sydney Water, and has been working in the industry for over 30 years in maintenance operations, asset strategy, and capital works delivery. And Stuart's been involved with the SOCC for a number of years as well, and has been chairman of the board since 2022. So thank you both, Stuart and Nabil, for agreeing to present to us today on the SOCC and the activities that you're doing. I will stop sharing my screen now, and I'll hand over to the both of you to continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Josh, and good morning, everyone. On behalf of the SOCC board, I'd like to thank IPWEA for giving us the opportunity today to talk about SOCC, the history of SOCC, the collaboration journey that's been going on for over 115 years, and also display some of the recent work that's been done by SOCC, and in particular the coordination platform iWorks. And just before I start, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on whose lands we live, work and operate, and their elders past, present and those emerging. So let me share my screen now for the presentation slides. Now, hopefully you can all see that.
Not yet, Nabil. Not yet.
Okay.
We're seeing your cityscape. Now we're seeing the slide pack. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So a little bit about the collaboration history, the journey that's occurred for 115 years or so. In the early 1990s, there was a lot of activity in undergrounding, installing underground infrastructure, and utility service providers and the City of Sydney Council kind of worked independently, installing and paving roads and that which resulted in longer than usual delays in the roads being closed off for road users, and that also resulted in a lot of complaints being generated as a result of those lengthy closures. So in 1909, there was an article in the Daily Telegraph which summed up the situation as it occurred then. And I'd like to quote the bit under that photograph on the left-hand side, which says that visitors to the city are struck with the frequency with which streets are torn up. They refer to a strip of roadway between Moore Street and King Street. It's been opened on 3 different occasions in the past 12 months, and by 3 different authorities. And then it goes on to say the trouble lies in the fact that the City of Sydney, the gas company, tramway, and the postal department do not arrange to do all their work simultaneously. And if such a scheme could be developed, then there would be a minimum of annoyance to the public. That sort of sums up the situation back then. In 1909, an organisation originally known as the Streets Opening Conference was formed by the Lord Mayor of the City of Sydney, and that was in response to a directive of a Royal Commission held for the improvement of Sydney and suburbs. And the primary objectives of that SOCC organisation was to regulate the use of footways, foster more coordination of roadworks, minimise the damage to the infrastructure, and also minimise the impact of roadworks on the natural and built environment. SOCC, as it was known back then, SOCC, Streets Opening Conference, held its first meeting on the 10th of March 1909. And it's worthy of repeating what the city electrical engineer reported at the time to the meeting, which goes on like this: I have complaints about Mr. Baines responding to the Chief Railway Commissioner opening in George Street. The opening has been left there so long before the second party came along. With regards to the trouble in Hunter Street, I was receiving complaints every day that the street was open from end to end. And of course, there's been justification in those complaints. Then he goes on to say, on the other hand, I think we're pretty bad offenders ourselves. And that, again, sums up the situation, which gave rise to the formation of the Streets Opening Conference back then. In 1995, that organisation was reconstituted to cover the whole of the state. And in 2013, it was incorporated and renamed, rebadged as the Streets Opening Coordination Council. So some of the outcomes of the work that's happened over 115 years, but in particular in the period after reconstituting the organisation to become a statewide organisation. It's become a peak industry forum for collaboration, sharing of information, and developing standards between road authorities on one hand and utility service providers or utility asset owners on the other hand. One of the key outcomes was the formation of an organisation called the Sydney One Call Service, which later became Dial Before You Dig New South Wales ACT. And there's been numerous other documentations and agreements put in place. Some of those were the shared trenching agreement, which involved 2-way or 3-way types of agreements. So 2-way would be between the power utility and the telecommunication carrier. The 3-way would be between those two organisations plus the gas company. The Guide to Codes and Practices for Streets Opening, that's been a document that's existed since the early 1950s in various forms, and it continues to be used as a reference document by designers, by road authorities, and by utilities. It's continually updated, and we are working on a new update to come out in early 2025. Model agreement, that's a template for promoting collaboration between utilities and road authorities in terms of the standards, the timing, the timeframes involved, road openings, restorations, and that forms part of a contractual agreement that binds the parties together. iWorks is going to be the subject of the second part of this presentation. iWorks is a platform that was developed by SOCC. The concept was SOCC's concept, developed over many years, and now we have a system that is out there being utilised by a number of councils and utilities, and I'll say a little bit more about that in the later part of this presentation. We also, 2 years ago, 2 years to the month, October 2022, we started a series of community practice sessions, and that's been gaining popularity. We had been averaging about 100 attendees at every per session over the last 2 years. We're looking forward tomorrow to welcoming some 440 registrants for tomorrow's session, which is going to be on microtunneling. And there's been other initiatives of the SOCC, such as the Unified Road Restoration Standard. That's an initiative that's currently in place, and if you're interested in getting involved in developing a standard for the whole of the state, which focuses on restorations, what are the standards to use for restorations, you're welcome to connect with the SOCC, with me or Stuart. Details are on the website, and to get involved. And this is just extracts from the Guide to Codes and Practices, which shows what a typical shared trenching agreement looks like. That's this bit here in the middle, or what a typical footway allocation looks like. It specifies the separations between services. That's a table on the left-hand side, and the depth of cover for various services, and those, if there are variations between utilities, it captures those variations. So that was a bit about the history of the SOCC. What is the future of SOCC? And SOCC has been working on rolling out the work that's been done over 115 years on a national basis. And we acknowledge that the issues experienced in New South Wales are not unique to this state. They are common right across the country, and hence the initiative to look at rolling the organisation on a national basis. And this is the proposed framework for the national organisation. There will be state-based chapters set up, and initially the state chapters will be one for New South Wales ACT, one for Queensland, one for Victoria, one for Tasmania. It could work out that Victoria and Tasmania go in as a joint chapter committee initially, and then split up later, and then there'll be the South Australia, Northern Territory and WA chapter later on. In terms of the timing, so we're looking at December. By December this year, there will be a New South Wales ACT chapter in place, and the first of the other chapters will be set up in March 2025. So that'll be Queensland and Tasmania initially, and then we'll work on getting those other chapters in place later in 2025. It's worthy to note here that the SOCC logo will change. What you see here is obviously the Australia map with different colours depicting the different utilities that are installed in our road network and public spaces. And those colours kind of based on the colour charts in AS 5488, which colours which are attributed to different utility assets. So now we're going to focus on works coordination. So we talked about collaboration, managing relationships between road authorities and utility asset owners, promoting that collaboration piece, sharing of information, developing standards that are that achieve consensus from the stakeholders. Works coordination is one piece of the puzzle that's always been the main issue in that collaboration between various stakeholders, and it's a reason why SOCC was set up in the first place. So just a little bit about the current operating environment. There is no legal requirement in New South Wales to mandate coordination of roadworks, despite the substantial benefits that such an initiative would generate. There are mandatory notifications that anybody intending to operate or excavate in a road corridor, they need to notify the relevant road authority of that intention, generally 40 days in advance of the works starting. But those notifications are not always used to coordinate works. Some use them, but the majority don't. So in the absence of a collaboration system, an official or an obligated system, roadworks typically happen uncoordinated and sometimes wrongly sequenced. So we often see roads being dug up after the roads have been resheeted. That's wrong sequencing of the works. We see roads dug up multiple times by different asset owners, typically utility asset owners. That's uncoordinated work where they could have, if they had a mechanism to coordinate their works, they would do the work jointly, reducing the time. The public is inconvenienced by having the roads closed off, open trenches that stay open longer than necessary, and the like. But we also strike instances where we've got silos within the one organisation. And that typically happens if the organisation carries different functions. And there could be instances where there's a capital project team that looks purely after the capital, and there's very little communication between the capital project team and the operations project team. And there's been examples where roads have been opened up for capital works independent of the work that's been done by the maintenance teams. There's also the organisations who do look after roads and water and sewer. So if we're not in sync, if they don't have visibility of what's going on right across the organisation, we then tend to see the outcome, which is uncoordinated works, wrongly sequenced works, and the like. So this is where SOCC steps in and fills the vacuum. This is where works coordination happens. So some of the consequences of lack of coordination, multiple and lengthy disruptions, roads dug up soon after they've been resheeted. There's plenty of examples of those. Adverse impact on the business community, unnecessary waste, lead to project variations often. It's in terms of cost and time. There are social and community costs as well, environmental costs, and the list goes on and on. The stakeholders who are usually involved in opening up roads are the road authorities and the delivery partners, utility asset owners and their delivery partners, some government departments, developers, and we're seeing more and more of that development work happening for residential and other uses. There's a group who are referred to as accredited service providers who work mainly for the power industry, trenchless operators, rail operators, event organisers. There are a lot of agencies, a lot of stakeholders, and we just need one system that provides visibility of all proposed works to all of those so that they can engage in a formal process and work together to do their road openings together. I'm just going to play a video here.
Hey everyone, I'm looking forward to sharing what I've got so far. 1 second.
2 councils and 1 road that runs between them. What could possibly go wrong? In this case, plenty. The road needs to be resurfaced, but the councils didn't work together on the upgrade, and it's left the job half done, literally.
Half done. It's ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense. No.
To only do it halfway isn't good enough.
On one side, it's pockmarked with potholes. On the other, it's beautiful blacktop. Why can't they do both sides at the same time?
Well, you tell me. You tell me.
Poth Road in Melbourne gives new meaning to doing things by halves.
So what a ridiculous situation, isn't it?
It's bureaucracy gone mad. You know, like, why wouldn't they do both sides?
Cutting through the family-friendly suburbs of Murrumbeena and Hughesdale, Poth Road is the borderline between 2 separate councils. Split down the middle, the west side belongs to the city of Glen Ira, the east side is the city of Monash.
Something that should have been a simple communication between 2 local councils, and they couldn't meet in the middle and sort of work out how they were going to resurface the entire road and not just half of it.
The newly surfaced half is the city of Monash side, who went ahead with their upgrade a few weeks ago. Glen Ira choosing not to crack on at the same time and firing up the issue for locals like George, who runs Chichio's Pizza on Poth Road.
We all pay our rates as businesses, as residents that live in the area, and it's just an easy task that should have just been done.
The mismatch runs for more than 2 kilometres, and Wayne, who lives on the thoroughfare, shakes his head at the council's lack of communication.
I think it's a little bit ridiculous that councils can't get together and make sure that they do the one job coordinated together. Then at least, you've got a good road on both sides.
Experts in the local government sector say this is about more than common sense, it's also about money. If the 2 councils could work together, they could split the costs, delivering better value for ratepayers than hiring 2 separate contractors to do each side of the street. Glen Ira Council says they plan to fix their side eventually. Council CEO Rebecca McKenzie saying both councils have worked together to ensure that the current works by Monash complement any future works by Glen Ira.
I'm a ratepayer on this side. I want to see it get done. So that's it. Yeah,
Why can't these 2 councils just talk to each other?
Absolutely. Why can't they?
2 of the key roles of local government is rates and roads. Are they good at collecting rates in Glen Ira?
Of course they are.
And what about fixing roads?
Not so good.
Glen Ira resident Danny suspects it's all about the bottom line.
The only thing I can think of is that the Monash Council had a certain budget they wanted to spend, and they spent it, and the Glen Ira Council didn't have that sort of money. That's the only thing I can think of.
And speaking of dough, the situation has inspired a new item at Chichio's Pizza. George, what have we got here?
The Poth Road Special, only available this week, half complete, half incomplete.
Gotta love, right?
Hey everyone, I'm looking forward to
Apologies for flicking over many slides. So that video wasn't intended to have a dig at councils. Councils do a lot of good work, but unfortunately, when it comes to coordination, the processes have gaps, and there are opportunities for improving their coordination efforts. So iWorks was developed by SOCC as a platform. It's an online platform for the intention of coordinating work across multiple agencies. And what iWorks does is it provides a web-based service which is spatially enabled. It's low cost. It provides visibility of uploaded projects, and that visibility is controllable. It can be specified by the user if a project is uploaded which has is politically or environmentally or other sensitive. It can be hidden or it can be made public. That's a decision that the user can make. It identifies collaboration opportunities once the data is uploaded into the system, and it notifies the project managers or the contacts that have been uploaded into each of the projects that there is an opportunity that you need to collaborate on, and it provides the contact details of the other party's point of contact. It allows the creation of exclusion zones, and you can also specify what buffer you need around your exclusion zones or any other project for that matter. It's a simple solution, but it is the best practice solution for aligning the timing of capital works for utilities, road authorities, and other stakeholders. It puts the community first in terms of delivering infrastructure in a cost-effective manner and providing savings. And as I said before, this solution was identified and developed by SOCC. And basically the 3 steps involved in this collaboration piece is that the user will upload their project data. So you share the project details with the platform. The platform identifies collaboration opportunities, and it notifies the relevant parties of any collaboration opportunities. That's just the concept, screenshot of the concept. All the services are color-coded. Now, for example, the brown is for transport, the green is for councils, power is orange, yellow for gas, and so forth. They're all color-coded for easy identification, and they are mapped out. This is just a screenshot of the Canterbury Bankstown Council area and the projects uploaded by Canterbury Bankstown. That is the live system, live data taken this morning from the system. It shows how the projects are clustered and how many projects are in each cluster. And when you dig deeper into each of the clusters, it brings up the map, Google Maps, and it shows the projects that are being mapped out, the project ID number, and you can drill into each of the projects to find out who the contact is for that project, what the timing is, what the timeline is for the project, whether it's still proposed or confirmed, whether it's you're looking at old data as well. And what I've done here for the purposes of today's presentation is I've got into the live system and I created a project if I go back one slide, you'll find that Ivy Street here Ivy Street. So I've created a project along Waterloo Road. So there's to generate a collaboration opportunity. And that's the project. And I created that under my access as a SOC user. And here it is. So that's displaying my own projects as SOC, not showing any other users' projects. Then I've gone ahead and I logged in as a Sydney Water user, and I created another project to intersect with Waterloo Road along Tennyson Road, which is circled in red. And immediately after I created that second project, I received 3 notifications into my email, and I'm sure the other users from Sydney Water and Canterbury Bankstown Council would have received similar emails, basically saying, email says, it refers to the project, and I called it test project number 2 created by SOC, and it says that this project has been created in your exclusion zone called test project created by SOC. It's owned by Sydney Water, so I referred to that second project as when I logged in as a Sydney Water user. The project contact person for that was Stuart McDonald. Their contact details, so you get the phone, email address, and what you can do to view that job. So there's links to that job. The next screen talks about the other job that I entered, the first one, and there's an opportunity to collaborate between the one along Waterloo Road and Ivy Street, and the collaboration, the other collaborating partner is going to be the City of Canterbury Bankstown, and their contact there is Gary Thompson. There's a phone number and an email. And here's a third one, which is meant to be, to me, the user, saying there's a collaboration opportunity there, and other users would have received this email. So this is a copy to me, so that's gone to other users. And that's what iWorks does. It identifies those collaboration opportunities. It notifies the project managers or the project contact officers. It's then up to those officers to make the connection and discuss how they can collaborate, how they can join forces, how they can utilize common resources to try and do the work in the most cost-effective manner, and in a manner which reduces the impact on the road users, the environment, and so forth. So here I'm going to hand over to Stuart McDonald, who's going to show not the actual live system, but the pre-production system, so he can create a project and show you how simple it is to manually create a project. But it should also be noted that while Stuart is logging in, I'll just say this extra bit. Projects are not uploaded or drawn in manually. You can do batch uploading. So a batch can be any number of projects. There's a template spreadsheet that can be populated with the project details and uploaded in a batch process. And it's straightforward. Over to you, Stuart.
All right, thanks, Nabil. And just confirm that I'm sharing the login screen for iWorks. Can you see the
yes?
Okay, cool. Because I typically use MS Teams. We normally have a red border around it. When we're sharing with Zoom, we don't have a red border, so it's always good just to clarify what we're sharing. So this is a classic example of roadworks in a streetscape. Lots of activity, and this is a prime time for people to be working together. And I took this photo at the Roads Directorate meeting back in June, and it certainly seemed to fit the bill, and it's a great background photo for our login page. As Nabil highlighted, this is the pre-production system. This is where we get to test new features and those kinds of things, test a few things out, and also test a few scenarios. And so this is, I guess, the front entry page here. I'm just going to zoom out for a bit. You'll notice that there's a blue border. This is a Sydney Water area of operations, and so any organisation wanting to use the system, they'll need to put in their area of operations. They will see the work that occurs within that area of operations and not outside that. It is important that people are working with their process partners in the area in which they work and not get visibility of other areas. You can imagine Optus and Telstra, or two other parties like Ausgrid and Endeavour Energy. They work in completely different areas, and therefore this allows us to be able to ensure they only see the work that is important to them. We have done some pre-work in notifying a number of different areas of works. Again, this is test environment, and you can see the details at the bottom of the screen here. And I can click on any of those properties and get the detail of those jobs. And as you can tell, when it does come to one of these sessions, things don't always work exactly the way you want, but we'll push on. What you see on the left-hand side here is you've got a list of challenges and opportunities. The difference between a challenge and opportunity is the opportunity is that there's two projects in the same area and the timelines don't quite meet. So there's an opportunity to collaborate, communicate, coordinate the timeframes of those works. And you'll also see that there's challenges here. And if I click on that, it'll show the challenger list. What that shows is that the dates actually overlap. So multiple parties want to work in the same space at the same time. And that's absolutely where we want to ensure that we collaborate and coordinate in those scenarios. I will just do a very quick project entry. Let's just go back and do a create. And I'll go into this location and we might do something around the corner here. You can pick a polyline, you do pick a polygon, or if you've got a point location for Sydney Water, we might do a maintenance hole rebuild. So we might do a point location and buffered by 5 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters, something like that. It just depends on the type of work that is being performed. So it's very easy to click and draw your project as a polyline. And you just keep clicking at each change in direction and go back to the end and double click on it. And then you can put in all sorts of details. And Southern Road, apologies if I do some typos. And this might be, I'll just put an SWC 002. This needs to be a unique reference number. And it's easy to pick up on a date. And just putting in some random dates. Again, that's a test system. You can see there's a whole list of different activities. We think we've covered everything. If there's something that's missing, then we can certainly do something on that. This will be a sewer project. The status will be confirmed. In here, you've got lots of different statuses. One is proposed. You haven't got funding approved yet, but it's something that you're working towards. Confirmed is you've got budget approval. Maybe it's a delivery approval business case, something like that. Construction, obviously the construction has started on site. And then at the end of the project, you close the project out as well. So we'll put this in as confirmed visibility. We want this available to the public, which is the users of the system. It's not the general community. Location, we can select whether it's on private property or on a roadway or right of way. Typically, the default is for both. Is it negotiable? Yes. And contact person myself. And I'll just put testing. And I can create that project. Now that'd take a couple of seconds to create. I'm just checking I've got all my things put in there. Let me just, because I've been sitting on this for a while, sometimes when you sit on the system open for a little while, it can pause. Or so let me just reopen this. But you can see how simple the process of creating a project is. Now, that is creating it live directly into the system as a one-off job. But as you can appreciate, that you can do the bulk upload as well. So you can see that's going away now and creating that project, and you'll see that the polygon comes up in blue because I'm on the Sydney Water account. It's recognising Sydney Water as having blue assigned to it. So yeah, it's very quick and easy to create that. You can actually load documents against the project as well. So if you've got a community brief that you want to share in this format, so that you know another stakeholder can go to that that project information to get further details before contacting you, you can certainly do that as well. And that's simple to just sort of click on that. It opens it up typically in your C drive. You pick your file and then you upload it. So it's pretty simple in that regard as well. So I'll just go back to my all jobs list. There's a whole bunch of features over to the side here. This paperclip means that there's an attachment to the project. This one here is opportunities. This one's challenges. This is the total number of relationships. So a challenge and an opportunity are called relationships. And this last one is how many notifications have been sent about this job to yourself, which is, you know, how many opportunities are created, essentially. So it's pretty simple. This table, you can open it, close it. If you love your maps, you can close that, open it, and the same with the side screen. So again, very, very simple to do that. And if you want to get more help, you can type in something simple like loading a project, and it will take you off to the relevant help documents and so on as well. So it's pretty simple from that point of view. Now, just conscious of time, I might hand back to Nabil.
Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. So hopefully you're seeing my screen again.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So just the history of iWorks. It was initially developed and rolled out in 2017 in collaboration with another software provider. It's been refined and upgraded, and we're now onto iWorks Generation 2 with a new alliance between SOCC and Pelican Corp. And this alliance officially started this year, and the iWorks 2 was rolled out on the 18th of June this year. That's just a signboard of the collaborating community, all of the players who are either SOCC members or iWorks collaborators. Just a snapshot of who was on the system at a certain point in time. And this is a case study where a local council planned to do road reconstruction, affecting about 850 metres of road. And before as they were getting ready to start that reconstruction, they found that power cables had been laid in approximately the allocation that was going to be occupied by the proposed drainage that council was proposing to install. So basically, the power company beat the council to the site, installed their 33 kV sub-transmission cables. The council was quoted over $400,000 to relocate the power cables. Eventually, the council decided that they would redesign special pits for this particular project. The design work came in at a cost of $5,000, and then the redesign of the project cost them some 6 months in project delivery delays. The power cables had to be encased at each of the pit locations. The special pits cost $17,000 each to build versus $2,500 for all of those using the standard design. So the additional cost to the council in dollar terms, not including the time delays and other things, was nearly $180,000. If this particular council and the power utilities had shared their forward plans somehow, particularly on a system like iWorks, this wouldn't have happened. Here's another case study, which, Stuart, do you want to talk to this?
I can do. This was down in Wollongong. Our project manager at the time saw how much work the Wollongong Council was doing and thought to ask our operational teams as to what the performance of the water main looked like. And through a bit of investigation, we saw that the water main was coming to end of life. So we fast-tracked the replacement of this water main so that we could align our work as closely as possible with council, and council were able to delay the road work so that we could install the water main, and the road was resheeted in one collaborative approach. So there's certainly opportunities for utilities to review the performance of their assets when they're coming up in their end of life, and consider the opportunity, and not just whether it's a financial return today, but what's the actual non-tangible value add that can be used to help to justify bringing forward a water main renewal or some other asset renewal as well.
And that's another typical situation where collaboration was able to be achieved. Again, Stuart, just briefly on that.
Yeah, this is in Greenacre with Canterbury Bankstown Council, and because we're both signed up to iWorks, we could see each other's works. In this site, on the right-hand side of the projects, there's a public school. Left-hand side, the big building there is both a Catholic school as well as a church, and the bottom right, you've got playing fields as well. So with that higher level of intensity, it's important that we get these things right, and being able to communicate, coordinate these works, it meant that the water main was performed first, and then the council came along and resheeted the work as well. And so whenever there's work that occurs in the common space, the costs associated with that work should always be shared. And that's the approach that the SOCC has. It's not about one organisation winning, it's about everyone winning together. So I like to use the term win-win-win outcome. So the council wins, the utility wins, but most of all, the community wins. And this is just a picture that sort of highlights that the SOCC is all about not having everyone racing to the finish and seeing who can get there first. And, I'm great because I won and I got the advantage today. But at the end of the day, we all win together, not as a once-off, but all the time when we work actively together. And that's been the key element of the SOCC, is that we agree based on consensus. So we're all in agreement when we come to what does the roadway look like in terms of the allocation of assets, what makes good sense as to who should be where, and what the asset separations are, vertical, horizontal, and so on. And again, that's the same concept that we like to bring to iWorks and the collaboration. And I know Phil has got a comment there, and it's a very valid comment. And Phil, if you don't mind, I'm just writing a comment, but certainly appreciate if we could have a longer conversation afterwards about that. And what the hesitation is from councils, and not just councils, but utilities as well, in terms of why some organisations might be a little bit slower to be innovative in this space.
Thank you, Stuart. I'm just going to finish off with this video, and we'll open it up for questions. Not that.
I told you, Doug. They've got an idea. Well, you've got that open. We could lay our new gas main in it. What a good idea. That would save digging a road up again.
Sorry, Nabil. Can you just pause? Because the video's not playing. You need to drag and drop your YouTube video across here, if that's all right.
Mind if we stuck a cable in there at the same time, would you?
The more the merrier. I've got a phone line, and I could mend that leak-filled water main. This could save the public weeks of disruption. Anyone else?
Sorry, we're still seeing the same ad. I like the still screen.
Well, you've got that open. We could lay our new gas main in it.
Sorry, Stuart, is that playing?
Never give you
No, it's not playing.
And
You
another
can just
thing,
use
ladies,
the
that's
YouTube
fine.
video
Now,
player.
treat you like cattle. And as for the so-called service,
I think this bag should go near the headlight.
Is that playing now?
No,
Oh, okay.
just need to drag and drop it across
Well, you've got
to
that
your
open. We could
display
lay our new
screen.
gas main in it.
They say Heineken refreshes the pub.
Sorry, we might give it a miss this time. But what the video was about, it was a Heineken ad, but it also talks about burying different services in the ground while the trench was open. So sort of joint trenching. That's the end of my presentation, and we'll open up to questions. Over to you, Josh.
Just bear with me a minute.
Thanks, Nabil, and thanks, Stuart. Yeah, look, I know there's been a couple of questions posted in the chat, so please, if you do have any more questions for either Nabil or Stuart, please do send them through. Stuart, I think you've responded to Phil's question in part with your comments and your response in the chat. The other question was from Thomas around what sort of uptake has the system had outside of Sydney from non-local government groups, and I know that certainly has been one of the comments that I've heard in the past is, you almost need the councils and the utilities on board to make this viable.
There was, if I can just also speak to that, Josh, there was interest from a regional council, which might evolve to be the joint organisation of councils in that area. And even though there aren't utilities involved in that particular area, but they still see benefit in breaking down silos within their councils because they do the roads and the water and sewer as well.
Right.
And just in terms of the question put up by Phil, I guess one way around that, Phil, would be to make road widening projects non-visible to others, so you can control how that plays out and release that information at the appropriate time. That's sort of a quick solution for you.
Thanks, Nabil.
I might just add to that comment, Thomas. Yeah, so SOCC is very actively trying to share the collaboration journey and also the opportunity of working closer together. And there's a number of things that we're doing at the moment, and not too sure if you're a subscriber to the Utilities magazine, but there was a big article or an editorial in the Utilities magazine and we have been active working with IPWA as well as local government New South Wales in attending annual conferences and so on to help share the message of what we can do. And just referring back to that image of the Australian cricket team versus horses racing down the quarter mile. Yeah, it's absolutely about that teamwork. We need a number of lunatics and first followers on board, so that we can, with the right mindset, to actually change the way people think about, how we do work together. So thanks for joining today. That shows that you're certainly one of those mindsets. So fantastic.
Thanks, Stuart, and thanks, Nabil. I might just quickly share my screen and we'll wrap up. So look, in terms of further information, I've just put on there a couple of ways that our attendees can find out some more information about the SOCC and or iWorks. I suppose the website's probably the best place to start. In the Nabil, I know there's a dedicated link to iWorks on that page as well. So and I've just put there the generic email address for Nabil. And then if there's any sort of queries relating to how the RTD can maybe assist in that space as well, we've got our email address there. All right, well, look, just finally, thank you again for your attendance, and thank you very much, Nabil and Stuart, for your presentation and for taking us through, that important information and quite detailed presentation as well. So thank you very much for that. As I mentioned at the start, this session is being recorded and will be available on our in our technical library, on our website. Just to shout out that our next webinar, our last one for the year, will be held on Wednesday, the 27th of November. We've got Scott Greenhow, who's the Executive Director of Freight Transport for New South Wales, coming along to provide an update on some of their activities. So the link for the registration page is there on the screen. And thank you all again very much for attending today.
Thank you.
Thank you.